Hey everybody, welcome back. This is John Lehman with Lehman Technologies, and today we're going to be talking about EQing headphones. We're going to take a look at 3 plugins that apply an EQ curve to headphones. Some of these do some spatial processing as well, but we're going to focus on the EQ curves today. If you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to talk about some free ways that you can do this that might be a little bit more work, but actually can be a lot more flexible. So let's check out the first product. It's a Waves product called NX Virtual Mix Room over headphones. You can see here they got a Black Friday sale going on, $25. I mean, this gets you the basic room simulator, and it gets you access to 270 headphone models where they have, EQ curves that you can apply. Now, as far as I know, there are no more than this. So you can buy more rooms, but you can't get more headphones. But they do give you a way to reach out to them if you want to have a headphone model included. You can let them know, and maybe you'll get it and maybe you won't. So, the next one we're going to look at is by a company called ToneBoosters. They have a product called Morphit. So this is a really nice product. It's very reasonably priced. It's 39 euros, which that's even less dollars at the moment. But what it does do is allow you to simulate any other headphone that's in the database. So they support 528 models, and supposedly they update that list frequently. So you have a pair of headphones that you can apply the correction curve to, and then you can simulate any other headphone that's in their database. Now, you really need to watch my other video about open and close back headphones, because I think this simulation is only going to get you so far. And the reason is, it's not just about frequency response, right? There's decay time that factors into what something sounds like. So if you didn't watch that video, go check it out now. And now let's go look at Sonarworks. So Sonarworks is the most popular of all of these, and they support over 400 headphones. Here, if you need to find out if yours is supported, you just go here and you scroll down this list. Let's see, I've got an M50 without the X. Bummer. I don't see it here. So, you got to make sure you do your research. All right, I'm going to put a link to all the software down in the description below this video. And make sure that before you buy anything, obviously your headphone is on the list, or you're willing to buy a new pair of headphones. But now let's go check out some measurements. So here we are in Smart, and what we're looking at now is all 3 measurements that I made on top of each other, and you can see they do not agree at all, right? They're radically different in their phase. More interested in the magnitude, especially this Sonarworks. I mean, what's going on here? These two, the NX and the Morphit, are using, let's get rid of the Sonarworks. They're using almost the same type of shelf down here in the low end, but there is big difference up here in the high end also. This really, they don't agree. And a word of caution here in the high end, and there we can see the Sonarworks again. And that is that the way the headphones are positioned on your ear drastically affects the high frequency response and the comb filtering that you're going to get in the pinea and the ear canal and all that. And so, how much do you really want to be fooling with that up there? I'm not so sure that this is really a good idea. Now, hey man, if you look at the, I think it's the Morphit, right? That's got this big boost up here. When you first put those on and you hear this extra brilliance, and that's really high, right? It's up 10K around where that peak is, and that's going to sound really sweet and detailed and articulate to you, and it may not sound harsh depending on how you hear things. And so you may think, wow, that sounds so much better than the other one. And to you, it might, but is it accurate? See, that's the question, right? We don't really know which one of these should we trust, right? That's really my whole point, is how do you know which one of these to trust? Now, I know because I measured the Sennheiser that it's low. And here in a little bit, we're going to look at a website that does give us some information about what to trust. But just so you can trust what I'm doing, I want to show you an actual measurement. So this is Rational Acoustics Smart, and I've got this run through SoundGrid, and it's generating a pink noise signal here. I'm going to mute my speaker, and it runs out through SoundGrid and into Pro Tools, and then out of Pro Tools back through SoundGrid and comes back in here on this measurement channel. And then the reference is just a copy of the signal generator. And what you see on the screen is the difference between the two. And so the difference is whatever is being caused by this, what's in the middle, right? So in this case, the only thing in the middle is the plugin. So in Pro Tools, you can see this is the Sound ID reference from Sonarworks, right? And that's the curve, and that looks just like what we saw on Smart. So they're doing exactly what they say they're doing. The question is that what you want them to do? But, you know, Sonarworks is cool because you can simulate. This is a translation check. I think I have this set up to simulate a car. So it's going to apply this EQ to your headphones and supposedly make you feel like you're sitting in a car listening to your mix. You know, is that useful? I suppose it could be. How much do you trust it? I don't know. I mean, anything is helpful, I suppose, as long as you use it responsibly, okay? But anyway, I just wanted to show you that I'm really doing these measurements. So we'll turn this one off and we'll go back to Smart. And this is the Morphit now. So if we look at this in Smart, so now you see it's totally different. So now we just have this shelf and we got this big boost up here, you know, 9, 10K. So, hey, which one is right? I have no idea. Why aren't these all implemented the same? If we know what the target is supposed to be, why isn't, I mean, it's mathematics. So, you know, if it's just mathematics, then shouldn't everybody get the same answer? You know, show me your work. Well, you don't really get to see the work from these guys, okay? They rightfully are going to design things that they think is best for their customers, and they're not going to share all the details. And, you know, you can't really blame them for that. So thankfully, you know, we have other options. I've found, first of all, getting the core information. The Harman curve is, you know, recognized around the headphone industry now as kind of the standard that you're supposed to shoot for. Now, people disagree on how close you want to hit it and all the rest. And that's why you see these guys do different things, right? Sonarworks has their own curve. And they say that, like, we're going to do our own thing. And you can see that in those measurements. So not everybody's going to implement this. And even when they do, they're not all going to do it in exactly the same way, using exactly the same types of filters. So you'll see different amounts of phase shift and different amounts of ripple. And, you know, all three of those chose to emphasize the highs or not in different ways. And then two of them did almost exactly the same in the low end, but then Sonarworks did a bump instead of a shelf. So which one is right? Doesn't matter. It's whichever one you happen to like. But again, we said we were going to shoot for accuracy, and that means kind of hitting the neutral in the middle. What do most people want to hear? And if we can mix to that, we're gonna have the widest acceptance. Okay, so how can we do that if we don't want to use one of these pre-made curves and we want to do things on the cheap? And we want to learn things at the same time. So that's what I'm all about, right? So let's look at this here. This is GitHub, and it's something called Auto EQ. Now, this is Python code, and you know, you can install this stuff and configure it on your machine and do some of this work yourself, but really you don't have to. Basically what they're doing here is they're collecting measurement data from lots of different sources and putting it all into one big database. And then from that measurement data, they then use the Harman curve as a target, okay? And then this software will design a custom set of filters to get that headphone to hit the target, okay? That's it, right? So how can we get a benefit out of this? Well, first, let's look a little bit about what they're doing. They got all this data here. It shows the target curve. It shows the measurement of the headphone. It shows the error or the deviation of the headphone from the target. And then on this same chart, it shows the equalization curve required to get you there. Now, that's too hard to look at on this thing, so we're not going to dig into this any further. But basically, here's the files that I found for my headphone. And there's inner fidelity is another one. If you go to the results page, you can find oratory, and some other sources for this data. But anyway, in here you can see these text files are, actual data files of the parameters that you would need to input into an EQ to get this curve, right? So what I did is I downloaded this impulse response here. It doesn't say impulse response, but that's what it is. It's an impulse response of the filters themselves. And you can do this. You don't have to actually build a filter, right? With resistors and capacitors and all this stuff. They model this in a computer, and then they run an impulse response on the simulation. So I downloaded that, and I put that into a convolution reverb in Pro Tools. I mean, you would think a reverb for EQ, but it's convolution. It's going to do what we need it to do, okay? As long as you don't tweak any of these other settings. So up here you can see, I just dropped this down, and I load this file that I downloaded from GitHub. And I did it this way, do not normalize. It's the way I found that worked the best for me. But once I did that, then I can run the pink noise through here, just like I did for the other plugins, and get a result. So let's look at Smart and see what we come up with. So here I've got now 4 curves laid on top of each other. And this green one, this light green line, is the convolution. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the phase there. I got these reversed from, I think, before. But this is the magnitude down here, and you see it's going down. And if we went back to that graph, you can see that the, sorry, this is zoomed a little bit, but the target, this light blue line really does go down like that, right? So we can see that we would want, and this equalization curve right here, this curve should be similar to what we're seeing on Smart in our measurement. And in fact, we are seeing that. If we turn these other ones off, we do see that drop off like that. So, and this scale is not at all the same, right? So that scale is much more resolution in the vertical. So it looked a bit exaggerated compared to this one. But this very much is that curve in the low end. And you see, I'm trusting this a lot more to be matching with the Harman curve because they're showing me how they got there. In fact, I could even generate this curve myself with that code if I wanted to. Okay. So as far as transparency and openness, not audio transparency, but transparency of how things work and how we got from point A to point B, this method to me seems much better as far as, do you know what you're getting, why you're getting it, and where did it come from? So I just wanted to show you guys that if you want to do a little bit of work on your own and try to understand this better, this is really something that you can dig deep into. I mean, that's a simple way. You download the impulse response and you load it up in a convolution plugin and you're good to go, right? But let's say you don't want to do that. You want to run it on your system. So if you're on Windows, you would go to Equalizer APO and download this and install it. And that'll give you a plugin, not a plugin. Well, it is a Windows plugin. It runs on the system level and intercepts the audio stream. And you can apply the EQ to the audio stream. So the way that actually works, like how you interact with it once it's installed, is pretty interesting. It's actually, you can do it through a text file. No joke. Let's look at that. I'm going to go back to my spectrum measurement here in Smart. So this is pink noise. I'm actually playing this from YouTube right now because I didn't want to reconfigure all my wiring and sound grid and everything else. I just wanted to do it the easiest way possible. So this isn't a transfer function. This is just a spectrum measurement. You can see, you can't see it, but this is pink noise for 10 hours playing from YouTube, okay? And so I'm picking that up in Smart, and you see these notches in here. Those are coming from, dragging this window down right on top so you can see I'm not stopping anything. Those are coming from Equalizer APO. And one of these notches is done in this graphic EQ. And the other one is done in this text editor called example.txt. This comes with it. I did change the filter a little bit. But if I change it right now, you remember in Smart, I'm going to drag these back out of here. You see, we have a cut at 63. Let me bring this text file back in. You see 63 minus 24, the Q of 3. Let me change this and let's see what happens. Okay? Just put a 0 there, and I'm going to do Control S. Look at that. So I'm literally EQing my system with a text editor here. Now, that's a bit geeky. Now I've got this on a 1 second averaging, so it takes a little while for this to normalize. But you see, that's just 9 dB, so it's a little bit harder to see. But if we go to, say, 24 and save, we're going to see a much deeper notch there. So you can do full parametric, you can do shelving, you can do anything, and you can just type these numbers in exactly as they are. You're not limited to a graphic EQ or any kind of fixed filter situation. So I thought it was pretty neat. It doesn't seem to cooperate well with SoundGrid or with ASIO drivers because of the way it's integrated into Windows. But it's still a really cool thing to have on your system because all the audio that comes from Windows will go through here. If you're on a Mac, though, what are you going to do? Well, you have EQMac, of course, and it's also free, but it's limited in the free version that you will just have a graphic EQ. So those would be fixed frequency and fixed filter width. And you can get a lot done that way. And if you remember on the Auto EQ site, they even have that graphic EQ text. So it'll tell you exactly which sliders to move and how far. And it won't be as accurate, right? But it'll be better than doing nothing if you're really trying to hit that Harman curve. So EQMac also has a paid version. It's $3 a month. And if you get that, you can put in the most complex filters imaginable and get that response that you're looking for on your Mac. But it does cost a little bit of money. So sorry about that. It's not free. So to wrap this up, what I really want to say is, you know, proceed with caution on this stuff. I mean, these products, the ones we reviewed, are good. And, you know, the simulator, the room simulation part is pretty interesting with the cross feed and all that. Maybe we can make another video and talk more about that aspect of it. I would be real careful with EQ and headphones, especially in the high end. I would use really simple filters with gentle slopes. You get minimal phase shift that way, and you're not going to mess things up too bad. You get them tonally in the same ballpark. And then, like I said earlier, you use your reference material. That is what's going to make sure that you're not making a huge mistake. Because we can get used to anything sound in any kind of way, right? And we'll just think it's normal after a while. So you want to make sure you're always checking whenever you make a change to your system, go get your reference material and play it back and get used to what that sounds like, and then check your mixes and make sure that things are going to sound good from there. And then I still think the best thing to do, rather than just running these simulators and sitting in your chair in a virtual reality, you need to get out there and listen to your mixes on other systems, you know, at your friend's house, in your car, your buddy's car, you know, on your AirPods or whatever. Put the stuff up on YouTube, listen to what happens to it there. That's the best way to make sure your mixes translate. There's really no shortcut around that. Now, we can use some of these tricks and kind of shorten that process a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're really not going to know what you get until you go out there and check it for yourself, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, you know, click the thumbs up button, like, and subscribe to this channel, and leave me some comments down below if this was helpful, or if you thought it was too confusing, or whatever. If you think I'm off my rocker, whatever you want to say is okay, and we'll keep it civil. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot for joining me. Bye.